Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Football Pyramid Talk podcast. Back today with Simon and Sterling, as usual, for another week of football. Lots of entertainment, as per usual, so we will be covering that thoroughly throughout this podcast. So let's get straight into it with the Premier League. Quite entertaining this week. A lot of results that could have shocked a lot of people. We'll start off with another appointment, you could say, which came out literally just a few hours ago. Sterling, Rob Edwards in charge of Wolves. I mean, we said how bad of a decision that might be from his point of view, and he's gone against what we said. So, what do you think of him making the choice to join Wolves?
Yeah, I can't really understand why he'd want to leave Middlesbrough and go to Wolves, to be honest, other than the fact that they're playing Premier League football. So, in terms of a manager, you're thinking, well, I've got a chance there to go and manage in the Premier League. But I think give it maybe another 6 months, he'll find that Middlesbrough might be in the Premier League and Wolves might be down in the Championship. So, yeah, I can't really understand it just off getting battered against Chelsea as well, 3-0. So, yeah, I mean, we were saying, weren't we, Dad, that he'd be mad to do it, and there he's gone and done it.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally the team below him if you put the tables next to each other.
Absolutely.
Well, he's got lots of connections to Wolves. He played there, and I think he took over as sort of caretaker manager for a few games at the end of the season. So I can understand the emotional ties to it, but from a career point of view, it's absolute madness. I can't see him turning it around there.
Nah.
I don't think anyone's going to turn it around there, to be honest. They've still not won a game. They look dreadful at the back. They got some good midfielders, but midfield and attack doesn't link up. Strand Larsen's a good striker, but doesn't seem to be any camaraderie or connection between any of the players, to be honest.
You obviously see some scope for improvement there, so let's see what he does.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, won't it? But we said before how it could be a bad decision on Lampard's part and also Rob Edwards, but they've both, Lampard chose to obviously decline the move, and Rob Edwards, I've seen so many Middlesbrough fans absolutely fuming with the decision, calling him a snake and all sorts of stuff like that, saying because of the previous comment he made, saying like, oh, how much he loves the fans, how much he loves the club, and then proceeds to go sack them off not even halfway into the season. So interesting.
Who's in the takeover? Do we know?
Nah, not yet.
So, I'll speak about not Forest, Middlesbrough a little bit more once we get to Championship. But yeah, the fans weren't best pleased. Just leave it at that for now.
Yeah, leave it at that for now. We'll go a bit more in depth in it when we talk about it then. But we'll talk about now the game which went very well. West Ham showed somewhat of a, you could say, newfound sort of resilience. I mean, coming from behind to beat Burnley 3-2. I know it's Burnley, but like at the start of the season, they were so poor. So getting 2 wins on the bounce is crucial for them at this point in the season, even though it's so early on. So, Simon, you were looking at this. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's just two things that surprised me about it, really. One, that they came from behind to win, which you wouldn't really necessarily associate West Ham with doing, and Callum Wilson scored. So, two quite surprising events, really. So, Nuno's obviously, we're talking about could the guy make the difference at Wolves? Nuno's obviously made a difference with West Ham. His substitutions were crucial in that game because Soucek and Kyle Walker-Peters both scored the second and third goals. So he obviously, he's a good coach. So he's getting the tune out of the team. Do wonder about Burnley now that they're up. I mean, they had such a good run in the Championship. I think it was 29 games, wasn't it, when they didn't concede a goal or something like that. It's just bonkers record. There's such a difference between the Championship and the Premier League, and I think that this game just highlights how that difference is changing. And interesting, I was listening to a podcast on the way and they were to work. They were talking about Carl Rushworth at Coventry,
Yeah,
and how he's looking to make the step up into the Premier League, either with Coventry or maybe with the Albion. But you could see with Burnley, the goalkeeper make two costly errors because it's not the Championship; it's a different league altogether, and it's the demands on you are so much more. And in the podcast, they were talking about the fact that some of the stuff that Rushworth's been doing for Coventry, he wouldn't get away with in the Premier League.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He did look a bit too comfortable on the ball when I watched him against Wrexham. He was doing so many like little ball rolls and stuff when people were like right next to him. Was like he's got some doing stuff like that. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, to be fair to Dubravka, he has got some Premier League experience, but it's only really been as a backup goalkeeper for Newcastle, so he's not really been a number one yet as a Premier League goalkeeper. So you can understand maybe he's sort of feeling the pressure of that number one role as a Premier League goalkeeper for the first time. So yeah, what do you think, Sterling? I mean, interesting.
I think he's an FPL manager's dream at 4 million starting goalkeeper. But other than that, I think it's a good result for West Ham, obviously, and I don't think Burnley are any mugs. I don't think any of the teams that have come up, I think they're all showing that, definitely on the contrary to previous promoted teams in the last couple or few seasons, that they've got a bit about them. And Burnley, as you mentioned, defensively, even this season, have been quite resolute. They kept Liverpool out for almost 90 minutes and then they scored last minute. I think they kept a clean sheet there against Leeds. And yeah, I think to go and put 3 past them is good. And say what you want about Callum Wilson, I know I laughed about it because it's just funny. But if they can get him scoring goals, he's shown that he's still able to be quite a... It's not even sorry, because that's a very Michael Owen statement. If they can get him to score goals, then they'll do well. No, if they can get him to start playing well and get him a bit of confidence where he's playing well, then he's definitely got a lot to contribute to the team. Saw his goal that he scored against Nuno for West Ham at the beginning of the season was really good against Forest.
Really?
Then yeah, I think he's that experienced pro. So, and they're dying for a striker. Since Antonio went, they've not really had anyone up there that's been leading the line scoring goals. Fulkrug's made a glass. Bowen's not a 9. So I think positive signs really all round for West Ham, and I imagine that they'll kind of slowly work their way back up the table where they should be.
Yeah. Go on, Simon.
The background to that game, of course, was another protest by the West Ham fans, and looking at the pictures, it was quite a substantial one.
Yeah, I did see
prior
that.
to the game.
Yeah.
There's a lot of discontent at the club, and to be honest with you, I don't think the team's going to thrive with that discontent going on, because it unsettles things so much. I was reading, coincidentally, again on that podcast, they were talking about the fact that Coventry now own their own stadium because it was owned by a third party. But when they found out that they owned it, the next game they went out and battered QPR 7-1 because everybody was on a high, And I think with West Ham, that fan discontent is going to have an effect on the team. So, hats off to Nuno for getting back-to-back wins against Newcastle and Burnley, but not convinced at the moment.
Yeah, it's good 2 wins on the bounce. And about Callum Wilson, he's been a proven Premier League striker before. It's just been injuries that have hit him, really. I think, as you said, Sterling, if he can get a consistent run of games and goals, even just like 2 in a row, it can really help a striker to find their feet in the Premier League, and he needs that because everyone knows that he's a good striker, the only reason he really got put behind at Newcastle was because Alexander Isak was an absolute joke when he was injured, and when he got back, he had absolutely no chance in
Yeah.
uh, getting back in front of how much did he go to Liverpool for 100 and something million. So he was never going to be. He's never going to get in front of a striker like that. So I think the fact of finding his consistency again after so many injuries recently, which has really ruined, him being sort of in the headlights at the minute. And he has been before in the Premier League, and I think he definitely can again for West Ham, who, as you said as well, Sterling, badly need a good striker like that. Fulkrug's useless, and Antonio's really been the only one in the last couple of years that has actually hit the ground running. So we'll have to wait and see with that. But I wanted to talk about an unbelievable game. I don't know if you both watched it. Sunderland versus Arsenal. I think it was just massive credit to Sunderland. I think they made a massive statement on the day to really cement themselves in this league. I mean, everyone saw their results and were like very impressed, but hadn't really watched them into detail against a proper good side like Arsenal, and they went toe to toe with them. They probably should have won that game, considering how many chances they had. And they kept going and going. Even when they went 2-1 down, they were still pressing high. The crowd were absolutely unbelievable on the day. You could hear it from your TV. They were absolutely making an absolute nuisance of themselves. And I think it was the first time that Arsenal back line had properly been like out battled. Gabriel got put on his arse in the last minute by that Brobby, and what a finish that was by Ballard in the top in the first half, right at the roof of the net. But what did you both think of the game? Because I thought it was an absolutely class game, and I thought it was just a statement from Sunderland to get a point against a really high flying Arsenal team.
It
Yeah,
was a brilliant performance from Sunderland, and I think what we were saying earlier about the crowd at West Ham. It's a complete polar opposite at Sunderland. The fantastic support they get there. I mean, it's not often the commentators talk about the sheer noise in the stadium, but
Yeah,
like you said, it came across on the television. And I've said this before, their recruitment strategy was to recruit powerful footballers. They didn't care where they played football before. And that robbery just showed you what the benefit of that is. We just muscling Gabriel off the ball to score that equaliser. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I was looking at it as the game was playing, and Xhaka is one of the smaller members of Sunderland's team, but when you actually see him close up, he's a unit. He's not a small guy.
yeah.
So yeah, I think they're definitely safe. Although I read that Hull they've matched or just equalled just surpassed rather the record of Hull for the most number of points over the first 12 games, is it? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
promoted side.
Yeah. And then after that, Hull went on a run where they got 1 point in 19 games and stayed up by 1 point or something. So it's just bonkers.
Yeah, well, it's always been the thing with Sunderland this season is they're going to struggle when the African Cup of Nations is on because they got loads of players going to AFCON. But I didn't watch the game. I was out watching my mate's fight and he got the win, so shout out to Harry. Yeah, but I want to watch Sunderland in depth because I don't really know how they play other than that obviously their fans are brilliant like we touched on before, and we said we don't really know the breakdown of the tactics, but yeah, they're very physical. You've mentioned that a number of times, Dad, and you can see that they've recruited really well. Like I was surprised when I seen that Brobby got on the score sheet because I didn't even know he was playing for him because he was playing in the Champions League for Ajax a couple of seasons ago. So and the fact that they've got him up front just goes to show how good their recruitment's been, and it was a really good finish from him. Really, really good finish, and they've got quality all over the pitch. That Dan Ballard, he's a brilliant player. He seems to always pop up with a goal. He's solid at the back. Probably even more important than, or just as important, as the goal he scored was the block at the end. He
Oh,
just threw
wow.
his body on the line.
Mm.
So yeah, really impressed with Sunderland. Very impressive, and I think, to be honest, that's just proved to a lot of people that they are there to stay. Really,
Mm.
because everyone's saying, "Oh well, can they keep it up? Can they keep it up?" Well, that result shows that, yeah, they probably can.
Yeah, I do agree with that because I think to be fair, I was one of them because I hadn't actually like properly watched them yet. I'd just seen their results and on Sky Sports highlights. Like you can't really judge a team off of that, can you? If
No.
you watch 90 minutes, they were relentless. They didn't stop working for the manager. You could see that really well, and it was just an absolutely stunning performance. And I can't believe that they, just that defence. When I'd obviously Arsenal on TV so often, so you get to watch them quite a lot. And before that, they just looked so hard to beat at the back line. I mean, Brighton should have scored about 2 or 3 in the EFL Cup, but in the league they just looked relentless. But Sunderland made them look like that wasn't even a thing. It was absolutely incredible. Robbie's goal was absolutely brilliant. He just held off Gabriel, one of the best centre halves in the world, and then just like with his left foot, I think, just across his body, bang, straight into the top corner. What a goal! And that the limbs again looked absolutely unbelievable for that goal. But yeah, massively impressed with Sunderland, and you hope they keep that up because the club's been in a very bad place recently. So it's good for the fans to be back in the Premier League in general, but staying in the division and doing this well must be something massively special for them. But we'll touch on Man City Liverpool. I mean, I just wanted to touch on this game, not because of really, I mean, Liverpool were poor, but it was an absolutely incredible performance by Man City, who I thought in the game looked a bit like their old selves. Outstanding performance and weren't there messing around, were they, at the Etihad? I mean, what did you both think of unbelievable performance?
Yeah, they do look like they're coming back into it. There's some interesting analysis. I can't remember whether it was they're having less of the ball. That could be the case. Can't remember it off the top of my head, but I know for definite that City are kind of, they're not as forward in their shape. They're sitting back a little bit, and I think it does go hand in hand with not having the ball as much. Giving Liverpool the ball a bit more, forcing teams onto him, which giving Haaland the space in behind, which is obviously where he's been killing people and where they've been getting most of their points this season. But it was good that they had other people contributing because he wasn't even the best player on the team.
No.
Because Doku was just incredible. And I've been really harsh on Doku, particularly last season in the FA Cup final because he was doing my head in. And I think partly Pep's to blame because he would get to facing Munoz 1-on-1 and he wouldn't take it past him. He'd just turn backwards and pass inside or backwards. And it was doing my head in. I don't know if you remember, Dad, but it was just absolutely ridiculous.
I
But
do. Bloody hell. Do
yeah,
I? Well, just never ran at him, did he?
yeah, but he seems to maybe Pep's let the chains off a little bit in that respect. And I do think he's adapted quite a lot, Guardiola, this season with his approach, and is showing with sitting back a little bit, going a little bit longer at times, and yeah, it's all coming to fruition.
Yeah, massively. It was an unbelievable performance. I mean, one thing that I thought was quite controversial, was the goal that Liverpool got disallowed. I mean, how Robertson was interfering with Donnarumma, even though you could clearly see he had a full-on dive towards the ball, was
Ridiculous.
absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely no clue how that got chalked off, and that could have changed the game massively.
Well, nobody wants to see that, though, do they? I'm sure even City fans would say that A, it's not offside, and B, if you want to be really like a job's worth about it and say, oh well, he's offside, most people probably just be like, no, because that's just, you don't want to see goals disallowed for that. It's just ridiculous.
What made me a bit confused was why it took him so long to come up with a decision. It looked like a goal full on the TV. Van Dijk was celebrating for about 20 seconds, and you just hear the referee blow his whistle all of a sudden, and then the lino's got his flag up. I'm like, what?
It's a shame
What?
because it completely changes to the trajectory of the game.
Yeah,
That can't stand.
yeah, exactly. And then
I think Liverpool would still have lost that game even if that had counted.
yeah,
Unfortunately,
I agree.
I couldn't wrap my head around. I know Doku played well, but I just couldn't wrap my head around how poor Conor Bradley was, because he had an outstanding game against Real Madrid, and then in the first 5 minutes, Doku was going past him. It was embarrassing.
He won the penalty, didn't he?
Yeah.
It didn't all go well. He's a frustrating player, as you say, that Doku, because he's got so much skill. I think even Pep said after the game, his finishing isn't his strong suit, but I mean, he certainly proved that to be wrong in that instance. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they were poor all round Liverpool. They really were.
Yeah.
And he seems to have gone back to this idea of picking most of the team from last season, with Wirtz out on the left instead of Gakpo, but it's not working. And he's
Not a
got
left winger.
he's got huge problems at the back because Bradley is a question mark over him. Konate is a question mark over him. You can't outthink that if Mark Gahey had been playing next to Virgil, it might have been a different story,
Yeah.
Haven't Liverpool lost the same amount of games already this season as they did the entirety of last season as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought it's even more now.
Probably.
Doesn't bode well, does it?
I mean, you touch on Guehi, but what I noticed and sort of picked up on, as well as what Gary Neville said on the commentary while the game was going on, was Haaland would always stick on Van Dijk when it was like a goal kick or they were in possession, and they would force to give it to Konate every time, and he looked fucking clueless. He didn't have a Scooby Doo what to do. And City basically got the ball back 9 times out of 10 and gained possession back straight away like that. It was clearly a game plan which Pep had, and it executed really well because Konate didn't really look like he wanted the ball every time. But Mamadashvili had no other choice because Haaland was literally man marking him. He had no way of winning. It would be like so risky to do that sort of pass. And then Konate was wide open, but he just didn't really look like he knew what he was doing. So in that remark, it might have been handy to have Guehi there, who could have been a bit more suited to, being on the ball and having the opportunity to play out. But it didn't look good with Konate on the ball, I've got to be honest with you. It clearly was a game plan which City had.
No doubt about it, mate, and it's a smart one, to be honest. I wanted to speak about Villa, because we were quite critical at the beginning of the season, but they seem to have found their stride a little bit, looking more fluid with the passing and link up with the midfield to the attack, and looking back to their normal selves. We spoke about, what's going wrong, and they lack pace here and there, but when Villa are good, they don't always need pace because they're able to unlock teams just with brilliant passages of play and fluid passing and brilliant goals, and that's exactly what they did against Bournemouth. And it was a real surprising win, actually, and result, because not so much that Villa won, but to win in the manner of 4-0 was quite something. Some great goals. Buendia, amazing free kick. The technique on it was incredible.
Right.
And he seems to be finding a bit of form, which you've not really seen too much since he moved to Villa. But when he was playing for Norwich, which seems like almost a lifetime ago, he was brilliant. So that's good for them. Onana, a great strike. And really some incredible saves by Martinez helped them as well. Because I don't know if you saw the one where it took a deflection, he was back pedaling and he tipped it over the bar. It was a ridiculous save. And then, of course, he stopped a goal with a penalty from Semenyo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a good day all round for Villa. But I think Bournemouth will probably be quite disappointed with missing the penalty, hitting the post, and 2 goals from set pieces, which seems to be becoming a little bit of a trend for them conceding poor goals. Because if you remember that 3-3 with Palace, we were saying the exact same thing. They'll probably be disappointed with some of the manner of the goals they've conceded.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it was a really good result from Villa's point of view, just because of how well Bournemouth had performed earlier in the season. And it would have been a setback for Semenyo to miss that penalty. I mean, I was gutted he was in the FPL and he missed. Absolute stinker, but, what can you do?
0 points. I think everyone's got him now.
Yeah, I think everyone in the game's got that bloke. Everyone was gutted, but I had Dan Burn, so that made it even worse. So he got a red card. But anyway, Villa looked really good. It was a very surprising result when I saw it, because as we've said a few times on the podcast, they haven't looked great at the start of the season, but they've proved us wrong there on this point of view, because it was a great performance. But Bournemouth would be disappointed. They had a few good chances I saw on the highlights. I think Evan Nilsson hit the post as well as the penalty. So probably should have scored a goal to get him back in, because I remember Semenyo's penalty was at 2-0, so that would have got the game as well. So I think it's just their own fault, really. It's not really unlucky. They deserved to score a goal, but they weren't clinical enough on the day. So, yeah, very good performance from Villa, and I think they definitely deserved it.
It's a difficult place to go and win, Villa Park, when it's up, and you get a bit of momentum behind the home team, and it gets even harder there. We're talking about Sunderland's crowd. Villa's crowd is even more intense when they're really flying, and I think that was Bournemouth's problem. I mean, Bournemouth only won one game away from home all season, so they've obviously got a problem in terms of the way Areola's setting them up for these games, because they've proven at home that they're much more competitive than this, and to sort of just be blown away like that is very surprising.
Yeah.
Surprising stat as well, actually, that you say that, as they've only won one game away from home, because they've been flying. Well, you're not using the quotation marks to really disagree, but it's just funny, the narratives, isn't it? That Bournemouth are flying, Palace are flying, and then you look at the league, they're only 2 points above Brighton, or 1 point. It's like, chip off, mate. Does my head in.
Get lost.
But no one speaks about Brighton anymore, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, we won't talk about the Brighton game this week, because it was absolutely boring game to watch. But we'll move on to the Championship. We've had another DJ Khaled, another one. Norwich this time. Liam Manning deservedly gets the sack at Norwich. I mean, it's been an absolute disaster since he joined from Bristol City in the summer. 23rd, and the only team below him is Sheffield Wednesday on -4 points. I mean, that just sums it up, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest. I've been saying that after every loss, like, okay, that'll be him done then. That'll be him done then. And then he, survives another week. It's like, it's just fucking, they should have done it about 3-4 weeks ago. I don't know what they were waiting for, to be honest.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, it's been absolutely tragic. 2 wins all season in itself for a side like Norwich should never be happening. And then he had 7 games in charge at home at the club, and he didn't win one of them. And that was tough at home to Leicester on Saturday. And then I remember seeing footage from the Leicester away. They were literally like booing the players off, because they were so unimpressed that performance they put on was tragic, apparently, according to Leicester fans, but they still somehow managed to get a win, which I think
shows how shit Norwich are.
Shows how bad Norwich are to get the opposition fans booing a team that have won the game, which is absolutely nuts. But they haven't won a game in 11 matches, so thoroughly deserved, in my opinion. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, well, it's their 8th successive home defeat. So how you expect the fans to react, I don't know. I mean, it was deep into injury time when Leicester scored the winner, but I think the Norwich fans would have been voicing their disapproval long before that. And as you say, the fact that he's still there just boggled my mind. Really, it's if ever there was a club that needed to get rid of their manager, it was them.
Yeah.
Dad George was saying that it was actually the Leicester fans booing
Yeah,
the
no, I'm
team.
just saying. I'm sure the Norwich fans wouldn't have been sitting there cheering if you've lost 7 games on the bounce at home. And it's 1-1 going into injury time against Leicester. You're not going to be exactly thrilled, are you?
No, and I'm not surprised with the Leicester fans either, with the position they're in, to be honest. 12th being Leicester is not good enough. And
Not
they
good.
just got rid of their manager.
So look at their team. Sorry, Bobby Decortova Reeve playing up front for him. I mean, he's mediocre championship player. I mean, what are they doing with the money they got for parachute payments?
Yeah, but then you look at the rest of it, it's quite good. They got Harry Winks and Ollie Skip in midfield. They're two probably upper championship, bottom prem players. Jordan Ayew, alright, he's ancient now.
Back
Daka up front, Fatawu, Ricardo Pereira, Vestergaard. That's a good team. They're definitely underperforming.
100%.
Yeah, I think they are underperforming, but I think Skip and Winks are not Premier League midfielders. They're both too small and not dynamic enough, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I do.
Never convinced by them at Tottenham, either of them.
No, I never really liked either of them, but I was trying to be a little bit kind there. But I think probably the upper echelon championship players and maybe off the bench in the Prem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was reading the BBC Sport report about it, and people have been questioning why it could have been worth appointing Jack Wilshere in the summer, because obviously at the end of last season he had, I think it was 2 or 3 games there, and he went unbeaten, and fans were like he could stand the chance at a job, but he didn't, and they went with Liam Manning because of how well he did with Bristol City, getting them in the playoffs. But clearly hasn't gone well. I mean, I remember watching the sort of like the fan highlights of like when the goals go in. It looked like they were basically laughing when they scored that goal, Norwich, because they just knew how bad they were. It was just, it looked really bad, and there were protests outside the stadium. It's very toxic at the club. So hopefully the new manager brings them back to where they should be, because if they go to League One, that would be absolutely mental, wouldn't it, really? But
Really?
absolutely mental. But we'll talk about what you wanted to talk about, Sterling. Another win for Middlesbrough. Obviously, we'll talk about now the manager leaving, Rob Edwards, but interim manager, I can't remember his name, but I think he's quite well known at Middlesbrough because he looked like he was absolutely loving it with the fans. But still a really good result for Middlesbrough after such a disappointing departure from the manager.
Yeah, well, he wasn't actually gone at the time of this game.
Yeah.
He was.
Or something, wasn't it?
He's only just gone when recording this a few hours ago, and this is Wednesday evening. So, yeah, they basically just told Rob Edwards that you're relinquished to your duties today. We don't want you there. He said that he wanted to do the game. He wanted to be professional. He wanted to be in the dugout, but they told him no. And then we touched on it, didn't we, about the fans? Yeah, they were wearing T-shirts and holding up signs saying "Borough and proud," basically saying "up yours" because you don't actually want to be here. And I think that's probably, by the sounds of it, the idea that and the feeling that the board had, or whoever it was that made that decision to say no, you're not. Well, it would have been the board that you're not in the dugout. Even at that point they didn't know if he was going to go to Wolves or not. They probably had a good feeling he would, but they had said, yeah, go and talk to him, but you're not going in our dugout. So there was that. But yeah, even with that happening, they managed to get a 2-1 win against Birmingham. Obviously, we know Birmingham are a good side. And Hayden Hackney got the winner. And when I saw it, first thing I thought was, well, they best be hoping that the same thing doesn't happen with Hayden Hackney that has happened with Rob Edwards, because he's probably their best player. I think that's fair to say. And I think there'll be some teams sniffing about him. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to like a Leeds or even a Burnley, someone, that some of those teams that just got promoted. Won't say Sunderland because they're flying on different levels, but like a good Premier League side, I'm sure they're sniffing about. So they'll be hoping it doesn't become a trend and it was just, one of those things. But when you're doing so well in the Championship, Brighton, we knew it when we were in the Championship, then you get targeted. And even it's just the way it is. Even Brighton now in the Premier League, the better teams will target the teams below them for all their best players. So I hope for Middlesbrough's sake that Hayden Hackney stays, because he's a great player and got another goal to add to his tally.
Yeah, massively important that they keep him, because what a player that he is. One of the best players in the league this season, in my opinion. Been running the show really for that Middlesbrough side, who've been performing so well. But massive performance from Middlesbrough. I think it was really good to get the win under the circumstances, because the fans were so unhappy that he'd said all the positive things about the football club, how much he loved the fans and all sorts, and then went and basically fucked off and was like, "Oh, I've got to move to the Premier League. Let me get out of it."
Yeah.
And I think it was credit to the fans to sort of stick with the players and sort of make a statement saying, "You can't do that, mate. You got to stand up for your club," basically. And the fans massively did that, as you say, wearing T-shirts saying "Borough and Proud." And I saw on social media they put that as their sort of bio for a post, "Borough and Proud," when I think it was Daniel Fry scored the winner. I might be wrong with that, but
The first goal.
he scored the first goal. Sorry, there you go. He scored one of them, and yeah, I think it was really good for Middlesbrough fans, and I'm happy they got the win because, as you said, Sterling, Birmingham aren't no mugs. They've been on a really good run of form recently, so a good result and I think a really good statement made by the fans in the club.
Yeah, needed to keep momentum going as well.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. But we'll move on to Hull, who have been on a really good run of form recently. They got a win and came twice from behind against the Portsmouth side, who've been struggling really near the bottom of the table after quite a decent start. But what impressed me with the most was Joffrey Gelhardt. He's having a really good start to the season. Formerly of Leeds, I don't know if you remember him, Sterling. Good player for Leeds, and he's started to play out wide, a new position. Since then, he's been absolutely brilliant. I think he's got 5 goals in the last 4 games or something like that. It's absolutely ridiculous start to the season from him. But in that game, Terry Devlin scored twice for the visitors, but Portsmouth looked really bad defensively. I mean, late on as well, another late goal conceded, but Hull's attack looked really good and proved that, it was better on the day in a 5-goal thriller. So what do you think, Sterling?
Yeah, I mean, it's good for Hull. They're one of those teams that we've spoken about before, who were not too long ago a Premier League side. So it's good to see them picking up a few wins. I don't really remember this Gelhardt as a player, but I recognise the name. And yeah, I think you got to take it with a pinch of salt. Portsmouth aren't the best side in the division, but good result nonetheless.
Yeah.
He's actually on loan from Leeds, Gelhardt. So, I thought he played really well. He got a goal and assist, and I don't know if you've seen the winner, but it was a nice, calm finish. He broke free, and the keeper came off his line. He just dinked it over him really nicely. So he looks like a good player that obviously get an extended run with Hull is doing well.
Really well. Yeah, I've been impressed with Hull considering how they've been near the bottom in the last couple of seasons, haven't they? So seeing them near the playoff spots again, we could see a team that we've mentioned could be a good team to be back in the Premier League. So be
Yeah,
interesting.
they'd graced the Premier League, 23,000 at that game. So, they're obviously going to get gates, add another 5,000 on top of that, I'd imagine, in the Prem. So they wouldn't be out of place in the Premier League.
No, not at all. It would be really good to see him back as well, because I think
Oh,
they went down when we went up, didn't they? So we didn't get a chance to actually play against them. So it would be good to see him back, and I think they do have the quality in the squad to get back there. So we'll have to wait and see how they get on. But we'll move on to League One football. First of all, I want to talk about Luton. 4 wins in a row under Jack Wilshere Sterling. A massive statement made by him in his first proper managerial stint as a manager. Shocked League One leaders Stockport. I mean, that's a massive statement in itself, isn't it? Getting a win away from home, 3-0.
Yeah, ever since that Forest Green win, they've just carried on the momentum. We spoke at the time that they were doing the world of good, and carried it on. And Stockport have been flying, so to go and beat them 3-0 away from home really says it all. Stockport got a late red card to add to their miseries, but Luton had the job done before then. 2 goals in the first half, and then one fairly early / midway through the second half. So amazing what he's doing there, and he's really turned it around, because we were all surprised when they had such a poor start to the season. But I think that just shows that now they've got a bit of belief about new style of playing. Not too sure what that really looks like in terms of how he wants them to play. We watched one game and it was a bit of a manic one, and we were switching over to Coventry Wrexham, so I didn't get a chance to, and it was only his second game, so I didn't really get a chance to break it down tactically. But as a manager, we spoke about it before. He'll give those players and that squad so much belief, and yeah, he's doing brilliantly. And I imagine that we'll see him right up the top now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a massive result for them. I mean, Stockport have been absolutely flying in this division, and beating the league leaders 3-0 at home just is a massive statement in itself. And I think Luton really do have a chance of building their momentum back up, because they've still got players. When you look at their starting 11 that played in the Premier League for them, Ted Mengi, that not Joachim Anderson. I don't what's his first name. I've got it here. Mads Anderson. He joined them from Barnsley when he played for them in the Premier League. He was in the Premier League with them, and then they got Isaiah Jones, who was in the Championship with them. So with some Premier League quality they have, and a lot of Championship quality, and the manager now getting results for them, and this being a prime example, I think this result in itself can really help boost the squad and try and get back up the table, because, as you said, Sterling, they've started off the season tragically, but 2 wins on the bounce puts them in 9th place, so just outside the playoff places, which shows how sort of compact the league is to see them fly up the table like that, already in 9th place. So, yeah, what do you think, Simon?
yeah, it's a good result. I think Stockport had only conceded on average a goal a game before that, so 14 goals against in 14 games, and then get beaten at home by Luton. Bit of a surprise, but as you've both been saying, I think they've got loads of quality in that squad, Luton.
Mm.
So if Jack Wilshere's the manager that people say is, they should be able to turn that round. They've got a game in hand of most teams above them in the playoff places, so you can see them getting up there in the next few weeks. So, and I think with teams like Luton, when they've got that quality in depth in the squad, they will start to rise to the top over the course of these winter months when the games come thick and fast.
Mm.
So I won't be surprised to see them doing really well. Yeah, big shock for Stockport though.
Yeah, massive shock. It would have been a massive surprise for them. after the way they'd started the season, and they wouldn't have been used to getting battered 3-0 at home all of a sudden, so it would have been a shock to the system for them lot. So I have to see how they react to that, because that would have been a big hit for their form, really, if you get what I mean. So yeah, but we'll move on to something you wanted to talk about, Simon. Blackpool's clinical finishing in the second half proved a difference against a Cardiff side which created chances but couldn't really convert them to stop Blackpool.
Yeah, I mean, this stood out to me really as the result of the weekend in League One, because Blackpool's struggling down the bottom and we've all tipped Cardiff to do really well. They're still in fourth, but it was a second defeat on the bounce, Cardiff, so they're sort of losing a little bit of momentum. And the difference in this game against Blackpool really was the finishing. Blackpool took their chances and Cardiff didn't. Cardiff's goal was a consolation deep into injury time, so they just couldn't take the chances. They dominated the game, especially the first half, and really should have been out of sight by half time. But Blackpool, when they got the chance, took them. Mainly on the counter attack, but that's well coached football, isn't it? You set your team up, you know what the other team's going to do, you make sure you use their strength against them, and it gives them half a chance of getting out of that bottom rung of the of League One, which they don't deserve to be in, I don't think. A club like Blackpool, they've had good crowds there. It was only 11,000 at that game, but they've had better crowds than that. So yeah, it's a good result for them.
They're just being a bit inconsistent, aren't they? Blackpool, they beat Peterborough, then they beat Scunthorpe in the FA Cup, beat Cardiff, but then before that, drawing to Wickham, lost to Wimbledon, lost to Stockport, and I think the last time we spoke about it was them beating Barnsley. They weren't able to then pick up the momentum and go on to win games, because then they lost to Bradford and drew to Luton and, as I said, lost to Wimbledon. So it's just a bit of consistency, I think, from a Blackpool's perspective, and if they can kind of sort that out, I think they'll slowly find themselves getting away from that dogfight.
Yeah, I think they will, with new manager Ian Evatt, who they got in, I think it was 2-3 weeks ago. We spoke about it briefly when he got his first win. But this is a real statement victory, I think, just in terms of how poorly they'd started. Getting a win at home to Cardiff would have cemented a style of play in terms of the new manager. I mean, Ashley Fletcher had a brilliant performance, 2 goals and an assist, so goal of involvement for every single goal that Blackpool had. So really good performance from his behalf, and as you said, a consolation goal at the end for Selleck up top for Cardiff. He's had a good start to the season, but that wasn't enough for them to really, salvage a comeback. I mean, they're still in the drop zone, but unbeaten in their last 3, Blackpool. So, they'd be open to find a bit of consistency there. Try to keep that unbeaten run up, because they're only 2 points off of the drop zone. And then this league is so tight. I mean, you could have the likes of Wigan in 16th going into the drop zone next week, from literally going from 16th to 21st, which just shows how competitive this league really is. So, massive result for Blackpool to get themselves nearer that sort of outside of a relegation spot zone. So, we'll have to wait and see. But we'll lastly talk about what I thought was a absolutely mad result. Peterborough beat Wimbledon 5-0 at home. Massive surprise, because I've been praising them quite positively recently for how well they've been doing since getting promoted from League Two, but got absolutely thumped by a Peterborough team that have been really struggling. But they got in a new manager, which we didn't mention, because we mentioned Darren Ferguson got sacked, but Luke Williams is now the new manager of the club, and he's gone 3 wins from 3 in all competitions since being appointed. So do you think he can help turn their season around based off how he started at the club.
Well, he's replaced a club legend there, hasn't he, Darren Ferguson? I think that might be the second or third time he's gone back to Peterborough Ferguson, so he's got some big shoes to fill there, because we all know who his dad is. I mean, he's got quite a positive profile, Luke Williams. He's sort of seen as an attacking type coach, lots of possession football, so that would probably suit Peterborough's squad, because I should imagine Darren Ferguson would have put together a squad that sort of plays that sort of football. So I think he's stepping into a squad where they just probably needed a fresh face to change the narrative in the changing room. He's had a couple of stints at managing. The latest one was in Swansea, but they got rid of him after 7 successive defeats, which just shows you that if you don't keep momentum in these divisions, you're not going to get the fans on board. And once the fans are not on board, they're bored going to get rid of you. So yeah, it was a good result. That I was quite impressed. But I think that's Wimbledon's third defeat on the bounce, including the FA Cup. So their positive start seems to be evaporating a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising to see Peterborough down there, to be honest, where they are, because not too long ago they had that crazy playoff win, didn't they, to go to the Championship? Correct me if I'm wrong.
It was they were on the wrong side of it was the game against Sheffield Wednesday. I think they were 3-0 up, and then Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. They were on the wrong side of it. But
You
regardless, they
prove a point though, because they've been in the playoffs before. But
been in the playoffs before, not too long ago, been in the Championship. So, you know, to see him really far down League One is just a massive surprise. So I imagine that he'll turn it around, because the board will be wanting to get somebody in that's going to properly give them a crack at, hopefully getting to the playoffs. But that might be a bit of a stretch this season now. They played 14 games, so.
Yeah, sort of the time of the season where you see teams where they might be come the end of the season, isn't it? Tables starting to take shape. But Lisby got a goal, who I remember was at Braintree last year, which shows National League to League One, still bagging in the goals. 2 steps above, which shows the quality of that league, which we talked about last season, how the National League should get more promotion spots. So if you haven't listened to that bit of last episode podcast, go listen to it, because I think it is a good point which we all made about that. But it's just their 4th win of the season. But seeing that the new manager, Luke Williams, has already got 3 since he's been in charge, shows how badly Ferguson really did at the start of this season. So it's probably a deserved sacking, as we said before. But Luke Williams has started off brilliantly, and worrying result for Wimbledon again, as you said, Simon, into 7th now, just outside of playoff space after being in 4th just a few weeks ago. So if you don't keep up consistency in this league, that's what's going to happen, because teams are on it like a rash, and they keep getting wins. They'll be flying down the table like, Luton. I can't remember the gap. Would have been a substantial gap between Luton and Wimbledon just a few game weeks ago. And now I think there's only 1 place between them. So just shows, doesn't it, what League One football does to teams, really, doesn't it? So we'll have to wait and see how that shapes up. But I wanted to talk about a team that we've been discrediting in League Two, Notts County, who started off the season poorly with a manager that didn't have a lot of experience, Martin Patterson. But since we've sort of been slating them for the start they've been on a cracking run of form, and they're now in 3rd place in League Two, which is massive credit to him as a manager, because he's proven all of us wrong, really, just because of the way they'd started the season. You didn't really see him turning it around. So it surprised me. Has it surprised both of you two?
Yeah, well, I watched that game, actually. I watched most of it, and Cheltenham were good value for the comeback at one stage, because Notts County was so far and away the better team that they went 2-0 up and really rested on their laurels. But what I was impressed with County was the 2 guys up front, Yatta and Hall. Tyreek Hall especially took it. His goal was a great goal when he took it on the half turn and rifled it past the keeper. Jatta looks like a typical bulldozing centre forward, but he's got a nice touch with it as well. So yeah, I think he's definitely turned it around there. They look quite impressive, I must admit. And you've said, George, in the notes, there's 5 games unbeaten in the league, but they were miles better than Cheltenham. It was obvious to everybody in the ground, I think. And I was surprised that Cheltenham got themselves back in the game at one stage, but I don't think the result was in any doubt, really. But hats off to Cottrell, because they were talking in the commentary about, the fact that he'd come in and got more points in the last 4 games than anybody other than Walsall. I think it was 10 out of 12. And the previous manager basically said that he couldn't work with it. It was the worst set of players he'd ever had to work with. And Cottrell come in and he basically turned it all around, but he'd also brought in a couple of players that were unattached, weren't even playing football a month ago, and he brought them into the squad. So he's a good coach, but I think he could see that they were in trouble. And those front 2 look really good. I want to watch them again, can't they?
Yeah, they're a really good side, and yeah, I've watched Jatta before. Absolute beast up top, isn't he? He's like 6'5", 6'4", something. Probably might even be taller.
Yeah.
He was really good last season, and he's continued form this season because I think Dennis is injured. That's why that was it Hall. Did you say?
Hall, yeah.
Tyreek Hall is up top. So yeah, he's definitely making a statement for himself because both of those 2 have got 6 goals, and Dennis is out injured, I'm pretty sure. So Hall's going to have to make a name for himself to get in the starting 11 when he comes back into the side. So he's got 5 goals himself as well. So them 3 really good, and they're third for goals a match as well, 1.8 a game. So they're scoring goals. And it's not like Cheltenham are a bad side. You know they're down the table. They're an informed side, and massive credit to them. But I mean, it shows how competitive this league is. I was checking the league table earlier. They could go as low as 10th, depending on results, if they lose on the weekend, which just shows how much this table can change with a few results going positively and negatively for teams. So yeah,
Exactly what I wanted to speak about.
yeah,
Because I'm saying on my notes, Grimsby drew 2-2 with Barrow. Barrow are in 15th, so it's a disappointing one for Grimsby, who were leading the way early doors in the season. And yeah, so they're now without a win in 3, and they've dropped down to 6th place. But like you just said, even in 6th place, they're 4 points off the top, and only 5 points separate 1st and 10th. So 5 points, 1st and 10th place is really quite alarming if you want to look at it from that perspective. If you're sitting top of the league, you're not going to be thinking, "Oh, yeah, here we go." You're going to be there's no time to rest on your laurels or get too confident, because yeah, the league is very, very competitive, just like League One, just like Championship and Premier League, but probably more so than any of the other top 4 leagues.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, Grimsby without a winning 3 is quite concerning because they've been doing really well at the start of this season, which has surprised quite a few people. I think beating Man United on penalties in the cups definitely made them be a bit more in the media and make a name for themselves around the world. Really, beating Man United, who would have got some headlights a lot of places around the world. So, but Barrow sitting 15th, so a good, decent result, which you'd want to see them sort of win to sort of climb up the table, battle against the bigger teams, and find themselves upper in the table. But yeah, it just shows the competitiveness of this league, doesn't it? Like you said, Sterling, how tightly congested this league is, and I think it won't be a matter of time to see, teams even lower down the table join that group of teams just so compact in a division, and Barrow could be one of them. But yeah, we'll move on to what you wanted to talk about, Simon. Lastly, in League Two, Walsall, who have been flying in the league, clinical against the Newport side, and they're looking like a really strong side in League Two. Really good. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I watched the highlights of this, and they got a guy in midfield, Ryan Finnegan, scored a couple of goals, really tidy finishes, both of them. And he's on loan from Blackpool
All right.
at Walsall. And if he looks like the sort of player, just looking at his bio, not really had a consistent run of games in any of the clubs he's been at. He's at Southampton and Blackpool, and never got that sort of consistent run. But I think if he looked like the sort of player that could develop into a good player at that level. But yeah, Walsall look like they might be pulling ahead of the rest of them. There's them and Swindon basically on 29 points. But they've been a couple of blips before that when they lost in 2 games before that. But to get back onto winning ways and be still at the top with only 1 win out of 3 is really positive for them. And they're the club that I'm watching in this division, really, just because of their collapse at the end of last season. See if they can avoid it this time round.
Yeah, I say that quite a lot, don't I? Just because it's the same manager there as well, so he's probably going to be thinking, "Oh, I don't want this happening again." Because
PTSD.
yeah, he's probably in a similar position, wasn't he? But he's a good manager. They have there at Walsall with Matt Sandler, and he got him in a good position last year, but completely bottled it, as you said, Simon. But got their sort of season stats, and you see on there you've got every single player in the starting 11 from last in the game against Newport all got a goal or an assist in the league so far. So all getting goal involvements from the back all the way up to the front of the pitch, and they've got a former Borough player Clark. I think it's Courtney Clark. I might be wrong. Check his first name, but my laptop's quite slow. I'll find his first name. But he was at Borough last season, and he got the move to, I think it was Middlesbrough, and then he got moved to Walsall on a free transfer. So yeah, it is Courtney Clark. So another player from National League South, proving themselves in league above. And he's had a really good start to the season as well. 3 assists, and I watched him in the FA Cup game against Eastleigh, and he looks like he had a really good performance as well. But Walsall look really good in a similar position to last season. And, before that, they hadn't won a game in 3 matches, 1 draw and 2 losses. So they would have been happy to get a win there because PTSD would have been kicking in, like you said, Simon. But yeah, we'll move on to the National League. A lot of decent games in this league, as per usual. Such a good league to cover. But I thought I would cover York being on a cracking run of form recently, and 2 good results since the last episode we spoke. A 4-2 away win at Eastleigh, and then they beat Rochdale, high flying Rochdale, 4-1 at home yesterday as well. So that's a really good result for them, especially that one. Do you think it's time that they get back to battling for this league title after a struggling start? They're 3 points off the top now. Do you think they're right back in amongst it?
Yeah,
100%.
100%. But their problem is, will they be able to keep hold of Ollie Pearce? Because he's by far and away the top goal scorer in that National League. He's obviously playing below the level that he's capable of playing at.
Do
And
you
as we
think
said
that
before,
I was just going to say, to caveat on that, you think that Danny Cashman got picked up by Crawley of League Two, playing in National League South? Well, surely there's teams in League Two, League One that are sniffing around Ollie Pearce. Because it's not just this season as well, it was last season as well. And then the season before that at Worthing in the league below. But yeah, they must be looking at him.
Yeah, so I think it's hugely positive that they're in contention to get promoted, but it's such a difficult division to get out of. And Pearce himself will be looking at that, thinking, "Do I need to move to get to get to the next stage of my career?" Really, I don't know. But yeah, I've been nothing but impressed with him. I mean, he's not a spring chicken, is he? He's 30, I think.
Mm.
Ollie Pearce. So if he's going to play league football, it needs to be soon.
Yeah, I was going to say that he needs to act up on it if he wants to move, doesn't he? Really?
Yeah. So I've been impressed by York, but by the same token, with him not in the team, how good are they, and can they keep him?
Yeah.
You know.
I think the question is, are they going to be, because only one team's getting automatic promotion, then it's playoffs. So are they going to be better than Carlisle, Forest Green, Rochdale, even Boreham Wood? Maybe
Yeah.
Boreham Wood, but probably not the other three. If we're looking at it from the first 18 games there's been now in National League, so almost good way of halfway through, and I don't think they are. So yeah, I think they're backing in it, and I wouldn't rule them out, but it's going to be tough for them.
Very
Yeah,
tough.
they're on a good run. I mean, they've 3 wins on the bounce, as you said, George. But yeah,
Yeah,
Carlisle look like the pace setters in that division, don't they, at the moment?
yeah.
And of course, you've got Mark Hughes as manager, so
Exactly, no surprise really.
No surprise at all there, but they're scoring goals for fun. I mean, Josh Stones as well as Ollie Pearce, 5 goals in his last 4 games. He joined York on a big transfer fee for this division. I think it was like 500k or something. So absolutely massive transfer when he joined, and he was getting slated for being a flop kind of, but starting to find his feet now in the division. But they score goals for fun. I mean, 43 goals. That's 9 more than any other team. 2.4 goals a game so far. So, like, if you want to watch a game for the neutral, go watch York because bloody hell, they score at least two goals a game. So you're going to watch a game with goals in it. But yeah, 5th place now. It's gonna, as you said, Simon and Sterling, it's going to be a tough league to get out of, especially with that only one automatic spot, and then the playoffs, you've got such competitive playoffs, even with the elimination round, and then you've got the semi-final and then the final. So you've got three games if you're in like 6th or 5th up to 4th. So it's really hard to get out of, and they're going to hope they don't get in that position really. So we'll have to wait and see how they do. But we'll move on to a result that you wanted to talk about, Sterling. Scunthorpe beating Yeovil. I mean, ever since I spoke about Yeovil, they've been absolutely dreadful. I mean,
It was.
you'll say about it now how badly they've been doing, Yeovil. Go on.
Yeah, it's less about the result and more just about how poor they've been. Before we speak about Yeovil, Scunthorpe are up to 6th, so they're doing well in this league. And it was going to be a hard game for them, regardless, Yeovil. But the form they're in, they're without a win in 5. They're in 18th place. And yeah, they're just massively struggling, and it stood out to me because I looked at it and thought, God, they've lost again. Because I remember seeing it in recent weeks, they just keep losing. And look, they're far down the table into 18th. I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I think they're one of the teams that I had near the top of the table, definitely in amongst the playoffs, I would have imagined. Because if I think to how I would have thought at the start of the season, I would have thought, yeah, they're definitely there. Thereabouts, and they're traditionally one of the bigger teams in this division. Both them and Scunthorpe, funnily enough. But it's crazy, and I don't know what's going on, what's going wrong there really at Yeovil. But 18th is not where the club should be.
Nah, not a chance. I mean, Yeovil had a decent run of form. That's the reason I spoke about them a couple of episodes ago. But ever since then, it's been dreadful. without winning 5. So I think that would have been 3-4 episodes ago I would have spoken about them. But take nothing away from Scunthorpe, nearly promoted into 6th. Really good stuff from them since getting promoted from the National League North. Same manager as well, so proving his quality in that depart. But really good performance from them to get a home win. I think their home form's really good, and we say it a lot on this podcast how important home form is for teams throughout the football pyramid, because you can make your stadium a fortress, like kind of like Brighton have been doing actually. Haven't lost in a while there, have they? So haven't lost there this season either. So if you can make your stadium a fortress, then it can be a really good accolade to have to, get points on the board and make teams fear going to your stadium. So hopefully Scunthorpe are going to be making that happen. But Yeovil need to turn things around, because I would have imagined the manager would be under pressure, because they won't really want it to go back to the National League South again.
Yeah, I was looking because I was thinking, oh, did I see that they sacked their manager? And then I was looking when I was doing my notes, and I can't see anything that they have. So I was quite surprised, really. I would have thought that he would have been given the tin tack by now. But yeah, I don't know. What do you make of it, Dad?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the teams that fly under the radar a little bit, aren't they, Scunthorpe? I've not really taken much notice of them. Yeovil, of course, Premier Football League club for a long time. I was going to talk about Forest Road briefly. Forest Green. I keep saying Forest Road. Forest Green. The thing that surprises me about Forest Green is you think that they're a big club, but at this level they're really not. Their average attendance is just over 2,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're quite a well-known club, aren't they? Because of
A
their
well-known
beacon.
club, yeah. And they got a high-profile manager. But you think Scunthorpe's average attendance is 4,500, so they get twice as many people turning up at Scunthorpe. So, on paper, they should really be a bigger club, shouldn't they?
Yeah. That surprised me, to be fair. I mean,
yeah, and that top 6 in the National League is starting to pull away a little bit from the teams from 7th down. But that team in 7th is Southend, and they're the best supported club in that National League. They get average attendances of 8,000. So
yeah, really good.
you're talking about, how could York afford to buy a player for $500,000? They've got an average attendance of 6,500, so they're not doing too poorly.
Carlisle's about there as well, I think.
Yeah, I think more I look at it, they got something like 7,500 average attendance.
Yeah, really good. Shows the quality of support in this league as well, getting them sorts of numbers in the 5th tier of football. Absolutely mental to see, isn't it?
Yeah, we've said it before, but I think this, out of all the divisions, is the one that really interests me the most, and the one that I've appreciated doing the podcast has really opened my eyes to, because it's absolutely fascinating. And it's just frustrating, really, that the closest club to us is Woking.
Yeah,
to get to.
Got to get Woking promoted. Come on, we'll speak about them now. It's a good cue to speak about them, because they've been absolutely flying, haven't they, Sterling? I mean, we all support them, obviously, as a sort of soft spot after Brighton. But yeah, massive result again, 4-0 win, and they look like they're absolutely flying since Hinchwood's been back in the Elm.
Yeah, love the Rebels. You hit the nail on the head. Absolutely flying. I'm going to talk about the 4-0 thrashing of Hemel Hempstead, which has then been backed up. But sorry, I think it was 3-0 against Hemel Hempstead. I might have got my self a little bit mixed up. So just check for me, because they beat Tottenham 4-0 last night. So I might have just got a bit mixed up. I think it was 3-0 against Hemel Hempstead. But anyway,
both 4-0.
Both 4-0. There you go. I doubt myself. But yeah, eight goals, 2 games, 0 conceded, both at home. 5 wins in a row after six in a row after last night. 3 clean sheets in a row after last night. And everything's going well, up to 3rd. And Brad Dollahan got a hat-trick last night. Got a brace. got a brace in the Hemel Hempstead game, and he's up to top goal scorer in the league. So everything's going nice. So yeah, we might well just see Worthing in the National League eventually, because I think it's been coming, hasn't it? So fingers crossed. Yeah, absolutely.
Fingers crossed, exactly. Been mental. I mean, I'm so happy for Worthing because, as you said, Sterling, we want a team in the National League because Woking, from where, we obviously live in different locations, but similar areas, and that's quite a distance, Woking, from us. So, you want a team like Worthing, short distance to see teams in that league, because then you've got Eastbourne Borough, who are definitely not going to get promoted. I mean, I spoke about Chippenham last week, and they didn't beat Chippenham at home in the last, bottled it in the last minute to draw 2-2 at home to Chippenham. So, doesn't look like the new manager's changing things up there, but Adam Isherwood's got Worthing flying, absolutely brilliant to see. Brad Dollahan with a hat trick last night, and Raz Coleman de Graft got a goal as well, so that's really good to see. But up to third, and they look like a team that's going to be hard to stop at the minute with the way they're performing. 3 clean sheets in a row, and they're scoring goals for fun, aren't they? So brilliant to see. What do you think about it, Simon?
Yeah, no, I think he's done the business there, hasn't he? I think when it was mooted that he might go back there, I think I was quite sceptical about why Worthing would want him back, but he's obviously worked his magic there. So, yeah, be interesting to see what happens.
No surprise that he's brought that Dollahan straight into the team, and is now consistently playing Raz Coleman de Graft as well, because we know how brilliant they are as players, and the fact that the other fella wasn't playing them week in, week out, it boggles my mind. And you can see now that he's brought them straight in. There's no surprise there for me. It's because they're brilliant players and they're doing the business for him. So I think
Yeah,
he's just got that. He's got that professional footballing brain. To be honest, Adam Hinchelwood, he just knows and he just gets it.
yeah, 100%. I mean, he also signed Finley Chadwick back, didn't he, from Lewis? I sent it to you, didn't I, Sterling?
Yeah,
After he left Lewis, he was formerly of Worthing, so he's gone back to his boyhood club, which
I
is good.
can't really understand that though. To be honest, mate.
I don't know about that because he's just going to sit on the bench, really, isn't he?
He didn't do anything for Lewis.
No,
He
that's
didn't
what.
do anything for Lewis, so I don't know why Worthing have bothered signing him. To be quite honest,
Yeah, I don't think he featured off the bench yesterday. I saw he was on the bench, but I don't know if he featured. It was weird to see him leave. It must. I don't really know. I don't. I think there must have been a reason. I don't think he would have gone to Worthing because he got the opportunity. Because I think the only real reason he'll get a chance in that midfield of Jack Spong and Teddy Jenks is if one of them get injured. Because that midfield's ridiculous. Teddy Jenks and Jack Spong, both former Albion Academy players. So yeah,
that
tough for him to get some game time in that sort of midfield. One of the best midfields in the league, I would think. So yeah, but I wanted to talk about Chelmsford, who've been on an absolutely brilliant run of form. 5 games, 5 wins now for them. We've moved just outside a playoff spot after such a poor start to the season, considering how much money they spent. But considering they've won 5 games on the bounce, do you reckon the money they spent is starting to come off a little bit, or do you think it's a steady process which is still happening?
How much have they spent then?
Well, they had new owners, so
yeah, they're the ones with the new owners, aren't they?
yeah, so they had money to splash the cash, and they have Lyle Taylor up top, who scored an absolutely unbelievable goal. It was from literally assist from the goalkeeper, route one, sees it looping over his head, he touches it down, and then second touch he just slots it in the bottom corner. And they beat Hornchurch, defeated them for the first time this season, so it shows that they're beating a invincible side at the start of the season. They absolutely dominated them. I think it was 3-0 in the end, so I think that just shows in itself that they could be in the running for a playoff spot. What do you think?
I remember speaking about him at the start of the season, the new chairman and the new owners of the club, and that they were going to, splash the cash a bit. So, yeah, I think it's starting to pay off. And the fact they got Lyle Taylor up front just says it all, really, that they've got the money to have such a player in the National League South. And, yeah, his goal was really good, saw it. And he looks like he's enjoying his football as well, which is important. So no real surprise to see him moving on up the league.
No, no, I didn't realise, or didn't remember it, or rather that they'd had that sort of investment. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. They got a way to go to catch Worthing, because Worthing are the standout form team at the moment.
Yeah.
One team I want to talk about is to hit a run of form was Ebbsfleet. A couple of good results there, beating Maidstone and AFC Totton, who were sort of in the playoff places before Saturday's game, I think. So they've been going well. The sort of team that will fly under the radar, I think, in terms of we don't really know a lot about them or who played for them, but
yeah,
that was a good run of results for them. So it'd be interesting to see if they can maintain it and get themselves into the playoffs, because I think the last few seasons they've been up there or thereabouts in this division. So once you get into the playoffs, it's a little bit of a lottery, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Sam.
I was just going to say, yeah, you saw Boreham Wood went up last season. You wouldn't have picked them, so.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ebbsfleet have been in the league before. Obviously, got relegated from the National League last season, but they weren't there for a long stint, really. So seeing them in the division isn't a surprise. And they have experience. I think they got 100 plus points when they went up to the National League. So, yeah, it's not surprising to see them in amongst the playoff spots, because they have that experience of winning the title. So they'll want to be getting back in those positions, but it's going to be tough to stop some teams in this division who are absolutely flying at the minute. But we'll move on lastly to the Isthmian Prem. Simon, you wanted to talk about Chatham Town. Absolutely ruthless against the #United side, who are really struggling near the bottom of the Isthmian Prem.
Yeah, there's more to talk about hashtag, really, because as you say, they just seem to be falling apart a little bit. I think 2 wins out of the last 6 games, but more concerning for them is the goals against, really, and that was a really poor result for them, getting beat at home by Chatham Town 6-0. There's no extenuating circumstances. There's no red cards or anything in that game. And there wasn't a player that scored more than 1 goal for Chatham, so it wasn't as if they were being outclassed by a player that might be playing at a level below where he should be. So yeah, it's interesting when you talk to people about this phenomenon, really, of YouTube and its impact on football.
Yeah,
you got hard and fast evidence there with hashtag, where it's not really gaining much traction, really. They don't look like they're going to get anywhere in this division this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, there's been quite, sorry to cut you off just on that, there's been quite a significant change there, because Spencer Owen, Spencer FC, who was the chairman and founder of the club, he was still the chief executive, I think, or director of football, one of them. And he's stepped down now. And they've actually brought somebody in with proven Football League experience. I was just looking there trying to find the bloke's name. Can't find it. But anyway, they brought somebody in to be chief executive or director of football, one of those, but to really, command. He's taking a step back. Spencer is. He's still obviously a shareholder and the founder of it, but this bloke's going to be, like running the day-to-day operations of the club. So I think that's in light with them, not doing so well and wanting to turn around their fortunes.
Yeah, I mean, they got a shock result, to be fair to them. They defeated Folkestone the other week. But after that, they then, as you say, Simon, lost 6-0 to Chatham. So got put in the dirt pretty quickly, beating an invincible side and then getting absolutely thrashed 6-0. But yeah, I mean, hashtag are in a bad place. It's hard to not talk about. 18th, just 2 points off the drop zone. You don't want to see them get relegated because they're a good side that promotes this league, really, just on the basis of how many people watch them. I watch them week in, week out to see, the quality of opposition they play. I mean, Chatton absolutely popped them about. I saw that. Absolutely popped them. Wasn't a good watch, as a sort of soft spot from watching them when I was younger. But yeah, it's not good. But Chatham, fair play, third place now, and they're absolutely flying. But another team I wanted to talk about who's flying is Folkestone Invicta. They won 8-1 last night against Cray Wanderers, who aren't no mugs. They're literally near the playoff spots in 7th place, so literally two places off the playoffs, and they battered them 8-1. That was as well as a 3-0 win on the weekend against Potters Bar. I think they're the title favourites for me. I mean, they're a point ahead at the top, and then it's Brentwood who've got 35, so a point off them, but they've played 2 more games, and then it's Chatham on 27. So from third to first, it's 9 points. They look like they're comfortably taking the league title at the minute, in my opinion, unless a sort of Walsall happens, like we all know we've seen. So, what do you both think? I think they're title favourites at the minute for me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've mentioned them a couple of times. I think they really are quite impressive. Apart from that defeat at home to hashtag, bizarre result. Brentwood have really fallen off the table, haven't they? They've lost 3 of the last 4 games, including getting beaten by
Lewis.
Lewis. Um,
You know.
but again, what more concerning than that is the fact that they're conceding so many goals, 15 goals in those 6 games. So, yeah, I think Folkestone look like they might start to pose themselves on this division a little bit over the next couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But they're pulling away. That they've only lost 1 game all season, and that's that hashtag game. So yeah, they look like the class of the division at the moment.
yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 45 goals this season, 7 more than any other team. That's exactly 3 goals a game so far in the league, which is absolutely nuts. 3 goals a game on average is pretty mental. Jake Hutchinson, who I spoke about when I went to watch them in the FA Trophy against Burgess Hill, he's on 8 goals. Joe Pigott on 7, and then in that 8-1 game, Hutchinson got a hat trick, a brace for Pigott, and then Ben Mason with a hat trick as well. So 2 hat tricks and a brace in the game. So Folkestone look unbelievable and look like a really hard team to stop at the minute. So we'll have to wait and see if they can keep up that form. But we'll lastly just briefly talk about what we haven't spoken about was St Albans joint gaffers getting a chance to go to a league above in the National League North in Kings Lynn Town. I mean, it surprised me on the basis of how poorly they've started since being relegated from the National League South. I mean, they're sat in
17th.
place.
Doesn't
And
make any sense.
they got to move to the league above. I mean, I know they did well in the FA Cup to get a draw against Burton, but then they left literally before that. So
It
they
makes no sense, mate.
battered 6-0. So I don't know what you two think about it. I think it's weird that they got the move, to be fair.
We spoke about how it's a bit strange, really, to see joint managers and what in our predictions videos we spoke about it and what that means in terms of dynamics and leadership, and I don't think it's been going very well for any of those sides that have joint management. I can't remember who else, but definitely not working for them. So, huh?
Burgess Hill.
Yeah, and to be fair, they've been doing all right, haven't they? They only just come up, so. But regardless, for St Albans, it's really not been good, and I have no idea why or how they've got a job in the league above. But I think, if anything, for St Albans, it's probably a blessing.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not a bad shout, is it? I mean, I've just got up their results. They've had a 0-0 draw, they've had a 2-0 win, and a 1-1 draw. So they are unbeaten, to be fair to them. I've got to give them that. But, Kings Lynn are 16th in the National League North, so see how well they get on after, it's sort of quite similar to the Worthing situation, how poor Worthing were doing, and then somehow Chris have got to move to the league above. I think it's quite St Albans. But do you have any thoughts on it, Simon?
We don't really know what the dynamics are, do we? They might know somebody that owns Kings Lynn or that sort of thing. It's a difficult one to work out. It does seem like they're being promoted above their station to me.
Yeah, it does. But, you've got to give managers time. I mean, Chris has done all right at Sutton so far, to be fair to him. He's got them joint level on points, I'm pretty sure, outside the relegation zone. So you've got to give credit to him for that. So we'll have to see. We'll keep a little eye out on just to see how the former St Albans gaffers do, just because they've got to move to the league above after, quite a questionable start on St Albans' point of view, being a relegated side from the National League South. But we'll call it there. Very good episode as usual. Thank you very much. It is the international break, so we will have a shorter episode next week, unfortunately. No Premier League and Championship, but keep an eye out on the England results. But for now, that's all from me, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Bye.
See ya.
See you later. Bye.